Hey, hello, and welcome back to Good Knit Kisses. How are you? I want to thank you for joining me today. I'm Kristen Mangus, and I teach loom knitting, needle knitting, and crochet and general crafting from time to time. But basically I switch back and forth from knitting to crochet, and sometimes it's needle and sometimes it's loom. So today I'm talking about loom knitting if you're joining me for the first time, and I'm working on samples for a pillow that's converted from needles and also a sweater that's converted from needles. And so I've been converting the stitches, and I want you to look at what I've been working on. So welcome, and thank you for joining me. If you're on the replay, be sure and say hello. Tell me, ask me if you have a question, write replay, and that gets my attention, and ask your question. But during the broadcast, obviously, ask me a question and I'll try and answer that. So anyway, I'm going to say hi to everyone who's joining me live. And I usually broadcast Monday through Thursday about 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, give or take a few minutes. Let's see, here we go. Hi, Chris, I see you joined, and Susan and Ellie. How are you? Good morning, Bridget. Cassid, hey, in Wyoming. And let's see, who else? Heather, hi there, and Rebecca and Marie. Wonderful. I'm so glad that you're here today. We got a few more people hopping on. This is awesome. So I've got a couple of samples here. I've got my pillow, and the big sweater is way the heck over there. But anyway, so I've got my pillow that I have been doing, and I did a sample last week, and I showed you guys how to do the stitch, but I've knit a little bit more. I've been kind of in between some of the projects, but I've knit a little bit more, so I want you to see it coming off of the loom. This is before I make the actual tutorial. I did sort of a live tutorial last week, but I've done it a little bit more to be able to give better tips, and so I always wait to do my video until I have a better understanding of the conversion. And so if there's an easier way to do things, I let you know. So anyway, I'm gonna show that to you in just a few minutes. I'm gonna say, hey, there are a few more people coming on here. Hey, Gretchen and Irie. Oh no, so Renee, Irig. Good morning, and Lee and Krista. Hi, 7 a.m. here. So you on the West Coast? All right, you're with Chris. She's on the West Coast. Ooh, I didn't realize that wasn't locked in place. Let's lock you in, lock and load. Good morning, y'all. Hey, Taylor, how are you? And Alicia, caught you there. And Chandra and Krista. Well, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, Tanisha. So I want to show you some of the things I've been doing. And so I worked on some of the needle stuff and then made the conversion. And I'm going to be working on this sweater knit along on needles. So, oh, there's a sad face. You're soggy in the West Coast. Is that what that is? I'm sorry. It was really rainy yesterday, or the day before. It was like pretty rainy, but nothing like what you guys are getting. It's crazy. Good morning, Nancy. Hey, Joan. And Babette. Oh, you can't watch the live broadcast? It just keeps buffering? Oh, I'm sorry. I know. That's the thing, is it's all dependent on, you know, how strong the signal is at that time. So, I don't think there's any clouds from my end. Like, so the forecast, it wouldn't be, because it was overcast yesterday, so I think that was probably that caused some issues yesterday in my broadcast. So, but today I think is pretty good. Hey, Louisa, that's my sister-in-law. She just hopped on. Hey, Robin and Krista. Hey, Marie. OMG, finishing last 4 blankets out of 15 and hats. Ooh, yeah, that reminds me. I've got to get going on my Embrace Grace. What we make blankets, baby blankets and hats and booties and whatever else. And so that is coming up. And that is, I want to say the date is at the end of March or early April. I'm trying to remember what the date was. I'm still waiting on the girls' names and stuff. We make stuff for, it's usually between 40 to 60 ladies who are going through a class called Embrace Grace. And it's like an 11-week course, and they end the whole thing with celebrating people who chose love, and they chose to keep their little ones, their babies, their first time moms who find themselves alone from age 15 to 25, and then we have a big baby shower for them, and people sponsor them and give them gifts, and they each have a big banquet table each, and then they all get to open like a ton of presents each. And so I try and have them make sure they have like individual stuff each, like they all have something handmade, and so I can facilitate that. So if anybody ever wants to give to Embrace Grace, let me know, and you can send it to me and entitle it Embrace Grace, and that will get there to them. So I facilitate that. And one day, my mission one day is to help where Embrace Grace, it's now in 3 countries, but it's in like I can't remember how many states, at least 35. I think there's more now, almost 40. And but they give to all those, they have programs in different churches and other places for this program. So pretty cool. So yeah, if you ever want to, I'll just give you the P.O. Box. It's P.O. Box 90 in Keller, Texas, and 76244. And you can send it to, Good Knit Kisses or Kristen, Attention Embrace Grace. So, and I'll know what it's for. Anyway, I'm going to say good morning to a few more people, and then I'm going to flip over and you'll see my samples out there. Oh, today's the sweet rolls at Joann's fabric stores, craft stores, 3 for $10 today. Till the 25th. Today's the 21st. So that's awesome. Good morning, Audrey. I think I saw Yolanda hopping on with All Crafts channel. Hi, Yolanda. There's my buddy. Hey, Nancy. Good morning, Carol. She's commenting as Good Knit Kisses, I think. Marie, oh, you're trying to adopt a baby? Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh. Are you fostering to adopt? Are you going straight through the adoption process? That's awesome. Some of these ladies, they go through the process and then they decide, you know what, I'm gonna give my baby up for adoption. And then what they do is they celebrate her as well in that decision. And so then she ended up not going to baby shower, but then they give her like this big love shower, and they shower her with other gifts and stuff and like really pamper her. So I think it's really, really cool. Like, so no matter what her decision is, they're really supportive. They also have this thing called Love in a Box that they give these boxes. If you ever want to write letters to it, go check out embracegrace.com. It's either .com or .org. And anyway, but they give these Love in a Box, and they give them to pregnancy centers, and they give like I think it's got like a little onesie in there. It says like best gift ever or something like that. And then, but there's a letter from, a handwritten letter from someone who's been in the place that they're in. And anyway, so if you ever want to help with that, you're welcome to it. So anyway, Cassid says, do you have a toddler sweater pattern for the loom? So I don't have a toddler sweater pattern handy in front of me. There is a sweater pattern that we're going to work on that's with Yarn Inspirations. I'm converting it over to the loom, the stitches. And so we're going to look at that here in a second. So you would want to follow that stitch count, and then whatever your sample is, I'm going to encourage you to make a sample to see how big it is. Like if you need to go down a few inches or whatever, they're cast on. I won't be able to help individually with cast on for every single person, how many you need to do. So you need to swatch and measure and everything. But anyway, you could probably size that down. I sized it down to this is probably a little bit more than it's going to be like a long sweater on I held this up to an American Girl doll. It's a cast on a 21 for the back. So, I put this on my daughter and her American Girl doll, and held it up to her, and it was like her little booty was right here, so on the doll. So it would be one like perfect for leggings. So anyway, let's scroll through, answer a few questions, and then here we go. There are a few churches up near me that do that. Oh, that's fantastic, Alicia. Is it a 4 or 5? Heather says. Are you talking about the wool? The wool here is this is a 5, bulky 5. This is a 80% acrylic, 20% wool. Yolanda, hey, I see you. Yes, best of luck, Marie. Good morning, Christine. Oh, that's fantastic about adoption. Let's see. Ellie, there she goes. Okay. Mickey, hey. Awesome. Okay, and this is, by the way, this is called Bernat Roving. So I'm going to show you the sweater thing first, because I think a lot of people are interested in the sweater. So I'm going to flip the camera here. Just give me 1 second and get this ready. I actually set the other loom up first, so I'm going to move this around. Okay. You're probably going to see a little bit from the other project. Just bear with me. All right, let me flip it. You would love to meet one who has decided to give up their baby and would like to make a memory blanket for giving more personal. Yeah, get involved with Embrace Grace. You can actually volunteer and help and be a part of it. They take volunteers all the time. It's a nonprofit. So, yeah. Hey, Janice. Okay, I'm about to flip the camera here. Let me see. So I'm trying not to hit the... Okay. All right. So this is the loom that I used. This is 5/8. Now, if you're not familiar with your loom measurements, you're measuring the distance between the two pegs here. So to give you a visual, let's take our tape measure here. It's usually the way that the loom has been sort of standardized right now. We've been using inches. It's probably better to not measure that way, but that's the way we've done it. And so like this one right here is measured center peg to center peg, and it's 3/4 of an inch. If you can see that, it's kind of blurry. Let me see if I can tap the thing and get it to focus. Is it focusing? I can't get it to focus because it's looking at everything else. Anyway, so this is about, from this line here to the middle here, it's about 3/4 of an inch. This one is 5/8. And if you're not sure, you can count the little tick marks. Okay, now it's better done in person. You can also line it up with this little line as long as they're not crooked. Go to the right and go to the right and really get that and figure out what those 1/8 marks are. That's just a quickie way. You can use a, what are they called? Like a caliber thing and measure. But also what can affect the gauge of your loom is the circumference of the pegs. So how big these pegs are. Some of the pegs are really thin, like this one, and some of them are kind of medium-ish, like this one. And then there's other ones. Here's one that's could be a closer gauge to this, but see how the peg difference that changes. And then you can have, of course, pegs like this. But then you can have pegs that are Cindywood looms that are even bigger. So anyway, so that's kind of what you do there. So this is 5/8. It is close to, it's very close to these needles, which is a 10.5, US 10.5 or 6.5 millimeter. So I was converting from what was required on the pattern. So this is what it looks like with, let me see if I can zoom in for you. How's that? Okay. I'm trying to get this to where you can see that we're talking about looms, we're talking about needles. I try and get this shot where you can see that. Okay. Here we go. It's all zoomed in, so it's kind of hard. I'm kind of looking up above my eye level here to see what you can see. Okay, this is the pattern on the needles. Okay, this is needles. All right, now you can see clearly what the stitch pattern is supposed to look like. You can see clearly what the stretchy, this is a twisted rib. Okay, so now the only thing I don't like about this pattern, converting it over to the loom, is I don't like the twisted rib because the pegs are so big, it doesn't allow me to really get it as small as I want it. So in this case, I think I would actually tweak the pattern because I like what's happening up here. I purposely was really tight over here. And you can see it's a little, it's similar. It's a little tight over here. But you can see this is loose. Okay. See how these stitches are bigger here. I've tried several times to try and get this tighter, and I'm thinking that I would just have to do these are E-wrap stitches here, and these are actually the equivalent of an E-wrap stitch on the needles, but I'm able to get them tighter. Okay, this is knit through the back loop. That's what that is. So if you see TBL and you're converting stitches, it's through the back loop on a needle, and it's an E-wrap, which is also through the back loop. It's a twisted stitch. Okay, so if you want to see a regular knit stitch, this is what the knit stitch looks like. It has this V to it. Okay. This one, this is what the V looks like on, so this is the back of a purl stitch because it's not twisted. So see how that looks really nice and comparable? They look the same, right? That looks like it's the same thing. Okay. So this is the back of the stitch. See, can you tell which is which? I'm sorry if it's buffering. I'm seeing a couple of comments here that it's buffering. I'm so sorry. You can't see, only hear me. I may have to rewatch. Okay. Thank you, Carol. She says, here's the link for Embrace Grace. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Hey, Joanne, I see you jumped in. Okay. So let's go back. Let me move this. Oh, man, it's really hard to have these in the shot. Okay. I'm trying, because I want to have them side by side. Okay, so let me get all this stuff out of the way. Okay, so I'm just gonna have to move the loom because that's just no way I can do it. Okay, so let me just see this. Okay, so I have, this is the needle, and then this is the loom, and I cast on the same number. Okay, look. Can't even see the other one because it's all covered up. Now I'm going to show you just the slight variance that it has. See how you can see the loom? This is looser. So I would say use an E-wrap. I'm sorry, use a knit stitch. And I would use a loose U-knit stitch to get it closer to this. Okay, so don't use an E-wrap on it. Right? Would you agree? The look changes, and the ribbing is just too flat. It's almost like the sweater is already pre-stretched out. And I wouldn't want a stretched out sweater. We would want it to kind of go in like this. So I'll have to do up another sample and showing what this would look like. Now, here's the warning. When this comes off the loom, it doesn't look like this. It looks like, so I had to actually pull it like that to get the stitches done well, because it was actually like this. It was like really stretched out, and I had to pull it to get it to like these parts to pop out, so you couldn't actually see it when it was on the loom. And so I had to take it completely off. And so I've got these live stitches. This is a provisional bind off. So I've got my live stitches on this scrap yarn here. Same thing over here. So that's what I did. And I was trying to work the back shaping. So this is like if I scaled it way down. So anyway, we'll look at your comments, see what you think. So this is loom on this side now. Let me flip it back. So needles and loom. Let's see. I'm going to click and see if anybody's got any questions for me. Hi from Iowa. I see that. Martha Russian join. Okay. Definitely change to a unit for the ribbing. Okay, that's what Joanne says. I'm assuming that might be Joanne. What's the best way to add yarn on a loom? Okay, there are people who say Russian join or whatever. I'm not a fan of the Russian join because, well, if you're working with bulky yarn, it can be seen. It also, now if you're joining like color to color, the same thing, then those joins are fine. There's also like this thumb join thing where you like do this and you wrap it around and you tuck it in, you pull it through, whatever. But they all create knots. The best seamless look, and also without creating gaps, especially when you're color changing, is to actually leave the tails long and then weave them in with a tapestry needle. And that's really the best way, although then you have all these tails. But I'm finding that I'm actually starting to, sounds weird, but I'm starting to enjoy using that method, and I'm not so afraid to seam those in anymore. I'm finding that it's actually a nice thing to do when I go to like a knitting circle thing or something like that, because I'm really talking it up, because I'm a big talker, obviously, and I don't get distracted with my pattern, but I can finish a bunch of things and I don't feel like it's such a chore. So I'm like with fun people, right? So that's what I would recommend to you. But anyway, so that's the difference. This looks a little tight, so I might try it on a different loom, but right now this is what I'm using, and I'm using this. I'm just I may try and see if there's a loom I could use. It's 5/8 that the peg is not that big, because there is a Cindywood loom that does 5/8, but the peg is bigger. So if there was one that had like maybe a smaller head on it, I'm thinking that might actually work better. I might try this one also and see how that works. This one is, see, what is this one? I'm thinking of like a half it. Oh, this one's not as big. I'm thinking of getting a half inch, the Cindywood half-inch loom, and see how that one does. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. This is 7/8. Is that right? Yeah. So anyway, there's that. And then this is, if you're curious about what yarn this is Bernat Roving. Okay. And it's a 100-gram ball, 3.5 ounces. It's 80% acrylic, 20% wool. It is hand wash, dry flat. So it does have that wool content. It is a roving yarn. So, and if you keep reworking a stitch over and over and over, this actually gets really sagged and it'll pull apart because it doesn't have that extra plying. So, making your swatch first while you're experimenting is the best, but you always want to make the swatch in the loom that you intend and in the yarn that you intend to use. Okay. And then if you don't like that, or you feel like you need to go up or down on the yarn to get the look that you're going for, or the size you're going for, or change your stitch a little bit, then do that first. Because if your sweater, like if I cast on the same amount of stitches and if I use this one just like this, my sweater is going to grow too big. This is going to be bigger than this sweater in the end, because it's going to be like, if all I need to do is change my cast on by maybe 1 or 2 stitches. So, and just kind of tweak that a little bit. So otherwise, in the end, what I may end up having to do is on the inside, if it's just a little bit bigger, because the way this one's done and it's got some seaming, I might have to like maybe seam it in a little bit more, and that wouldn't really be comfortable. So anyway, let me see if we have any questions real quick. Love this. I have learned a lot from you. Thanks. Oh, thank you, Tarbox. Oh, you're headed out soon, Joanne? Okay. I never used a loom, so I can't really comment. Okay. Thanks, Brenda. Chris says, that's a really good idea to weave in the ends when you're in a group. Great idea for live broadcast too. Oh, live broadcast showing how to weave in the ends, or just doing a live broadcast on my group? Alicia says, to join yarn, you just weave in later. Yeah, I just weave it in later. I just leave a long tail. And, you know, so I'm coming along and I've, where's the end of my tail here? So if I've been, you know, if I'm at the end, like I've been going this way and I'm at the end, I just leave my tail long, and then I grab my new tail, and then I start completing that stitch. And then later what I do is, when this is off the loom, I'll twist these. Okay. I'll twist them, and then I'll stitch this in towards this side, and this one that's toward this side, and use my needle. Where is it? Where's my needle? Anyway, I'll use my my tapestry needle. Well, not this one, but this is a giant version. You know, I'll use like a wide-eyed tapestry needle, whatever appropriate size. I like to use the metal ones. They're in another place right now, but yeah, I'll use one of these, and then follow along on the stitches. And when you follow the stitches, instead of going in a zigzag, because if you go at a diagonal, I've seen a lot of people show doing in a diagonal. I don't know about you, but I can see that. It's very evident to me. And if you're not making wearables, you can see it on the other side, right? Like say it's a scarf or something. So you want to, so if I'm weaving in a tail here, this is the back side, and I want to take my tail, okay, and weave this in, okay, then I'm going to go up, back through here. Okay, just to get it on the right side. And then I'm going to go around these stitches and follow the patterning, so that when so that my stitch follows around the side of that that stitch, and it follows what that looks like, and it's not shown from the other side, and so it makes it pretty invisible. You know, you don't want to pull it too tight, and because if you pull it really tight, then it deforms the stitch. But if you are careful about how you're doing it, you're actually you're just reinforcing that that look. And it depends on if it's a rib, or like, say if I was up here, then I would just follow around these stitches here. Okay, so I would go around here, and then I would go up, and then I would go around another bump, and then go back and forth. And that doesn't require it does require thought, but it doesn't require like memorizing stitch count or, you know, things like that. And if you have a jog, or you previously had a jog, if you'll leave your tails long, if you've been changing color and stuff, you won't have to worry about all that, because you can pull that in and mask it from the inside. Say you made a hat and you're like, oh, I've got all these gaps and stuff. Well, if you left your strands long and didn't put knots in or something, because you might go, oh my gosh, it's all pulled. Well, leave your strands long, and then you can fit it in together, and then it has this really nice finished look. So that's that. Let me see, go back if I've got any other questions here. Audrey says, wow, I've always tied a knot and then dealt with weaving it in. Thanks for the new way. Yeah. Yeah, don't even worry about the knot, because the knot is just, it's not comfortable too, especially if it's wearable. Hey, Yolanda, she's back again. I can see her because I'm friends with her. So I see you pop in and out. It's not a secret. All right, so let me close this up. I'm going to move on to the next project here. Oops, I forgot my things. Okay, so there's that sweater. So this, again, this is the needle, and then this is the loom. Do you guys like that? Give me some hearts. Do you like the conversion? Do you think it looks good? And then obviously what I was saying is you would switch this one to a unit instead of the E-wrap to match this a little bit better. Okay, you like that? Oh, and then this is the cable cast on, by the way. So this is the I'm sorry, not the cable cast on. This is the long tail cast on. So this is a long tail cast on the needles, and this is the long tail cast on the loom, and it's identical. It's just this one looks a little bit more blown out because of that size of that that peg, right? So if you want to see what side by side needle and loom look like, and then see the difference in the sizing, okay, that's the same stitch count. All right, moving on. Okay. So this one, let me throw my big ball of yarn on the floor here. This one is the raspberry stitch, and I've made it longer to show you the stitch. This is this pebble pop pillow. This was made, back off the camera here. There we go. Oh, Leisha says weaving in, oh, we'll go back. Weaving the yarn in ends doesn't come out over time. I think weaving the yarn would come out over time. No, it does not. That's what's been done century over century. You don't actually make that knot. And when you go through them towards the end, like I even like go through, I split between a thread on my way out. I'll actually go between some of the next yarn. Split the plies and go between the stitch, and then go work myself back where I was. So like say the yarn tails are like this. This is my old, this is my new. When I come back to do it, I'll twist this over and twist this over, and I work this one this way, and then I'll stitch it back on itself here. And then this one will work this way. And so it's twisted over here and it's twisted over here, and it's twisted on it. So, but it's because it's following the stitches, you're not going to see that. Okay. Anyway, this is the Pebble Pop knit pillow. It's on needles. This is the Trinity stitch. It's also called a raspberry or blackberry. And then we've got it on the loom. This is the back side here. Disregard this. I was kind of messing with it earlier, but this is the stitch. It looks the same. Okay. This was a, oh gosh, I'm trying to remember if this is a 7 needle. I think this is a 7 needle. And then this is a 3/8 loom here. This is the all-in-one loom. You can do 3/8 on several different things. Cindy Wood has one with a similar peg. There's also the hat loom from Knitting Board. This is Knitting Board all-in-one. There's also the sock loom. There's the Cindy Wood loom. Oh, I already said Cindy Wood. What was the other one I was trying to think of? Martha Stewart. And I heard Martha Stewart loom has been updated, but I can't verify that myself. But you can do the 3/8 on that too. So you can do the Pebble Pop knit pillow and make this. What do y'all think of the conversion here? Y'all like that? Let me zoom in here. You can see that. Okay, let's see. I'm looking at comments now. Let's see. Chris, love needle knitting and do very little loom knitting. It's fascinating to see how you can convert. Yeah. Yes, the KB loom. Chris, if done correctly, weaving ends is great. I was taught to just crochet or knit over the ends, and it's a crummy method. Yeah, because it does come out. Chris, some of my old videos I show using the hook because I didn't know any better. So I would take a crochet hook and I'm like, oh, you just weave it over, you just loop it over, or you pull it all through. And I've left those videos up, but they're really not the best practice. And I'm learning more and more for like master knitters and people now. And that's really the best method. So I'm improving my skills just as I hope you improve your skills and we learn together. And hopefully I can stay ahead of the curve. But sometimes you guys know more than I do, but I just teach on what I know. Okay. Oh, Alicia says cottage looms can do 3/8. Okay, cool. I don't have any cottage looms. I think it's the cotter pins or something that they use. I'm just not really, I'm not a fan of that kind of thing, but yeah. You love the Trinity stitch? Okay, so, but I want you to notice though, that this stitch is a more airy stitch. Like you can see through it. It's not a mistake. It's just, that's how it is. And so you can see this pillow behind it. So if you made it, you can put like a lining on it or something. Maybe put some Good Knit Kisses lining. Just kidding. No, I don't have that yet. So this is how it is. I'm going to show y'all. Do you want me to show you again how to do the stitch? And I'll give you some other tips, that I didn't say last week. We can do that. Okay. Is the pebble as pronounced on the loom? Not sure if it's the video appearance. It's hard to see that. That's a good question. Let me see if I can give you a kind of a better guide. I'm trying to get these side by side, and it's really hard because I want to get this closer to you. They're slightly more flattened, but it's also because this is still on the loom. I'm trying to get the background here. So this background is white, just like the pillow behind it. Oh gosh, this is quite a feat. Trying to do this in front of my phone. It's really hard to show you this. I'm sorry. See, these are nice and pronounced here. I think these will be more pronounced, but I've got to keep working on it. But it's still the same stitch. It does get pronounced, but looking at them side by side, when I've put them on it, and it's the same scale, like all of them are lining up where they should. And, I mean, to me, it looks the same. It might be slightly less pronounced, but I don't know. This one's also been, started to be dirtied up for my kids because they love this pillow. I'm telling you, I have to like take it away from them in order to show you guys. So I've got to, I should have put like a zipper or something in this thing to like get it to where I can pull it off to clean it, because it's all sewn in there. Anyway, let me see if I've got any other questions before I show more. Robin says, okay, already going to answer that question. Heather, what have I missed? Was I on the phone? Oh, we were on the phone with the hospital. Oh no, your son's having surgery. Well, best of luck to him. You missed, I don't know what you missed because I don't know when you went away. I'm sorry. You may have to come back later. I'm sorry. Chris, I didn't know. Oh, we talked about weaving in ends, Heather. Chris, you said didn't know better. I did. Chris is referring to, so Chris has 50 years of experience in needleworks, and she didn't know a better weaving in technique. So, it doesn't matter how long you've been working on stuff. You're always going to be able to learn something new. She did yarn work for over 50 years and was always frustrated that she learned, and she just learned this method last year. So anyway, thank you to Marley Bird, a knit along she covered in detail. So she covered that that in a knit along. That's great. Oh, good. I'm glad you learned that from her. Let's see. Robin says it's still pretty, even if it's less pronounced. Yeah. Watching you, Martha says, watching you makes it easier to try something new and not be intimidated. Thanks for being a sweet person. Oh, thank you. I'm so glad. So anyway, either way, this is a pretty cool stitch, right? Am I right? Okay, so I'm going to see if I can zoom in on this again and kind of go over how to do this. So I ended on a, okay, so here's the big thing. The way that I converted it, I converted. I can't say I converted. Joanne converted it. Okay, we had conversations about it, and then she physically did it, and then made sure to tell me. It would have taken me longer. Just I didn't have time. So I'm so thankful. Thanks, Joanne. Anyway, so when you start, you want to cast on to where you end up on the right side. Okay, if you're left-handed, you have to do everything backwards. Okay, but the reason, so we end up on this right side, this is closer to needles, and then so we work from right to left, okay? And so the first row is purled. So you're gonna purl your stitches to the left, okay? That's the right side. That's the same as the needle pattern. Where it comes in is all the wrong side rows on a needle pattern are on the back. And so when you do the back side, the front side is going to do the opposite. So when you're on the loom, you have to do the opposite. So if it says knit, you purl. If it says purl, you knit. So on the wrong side, the needle pattern says knit. So this first stitch is a purl, okay? So this is on row 2, going from left to right. Now, once I've gotten this, I'm going to show you, I know you haven't done it yet, or if you saw this last week, once I've gotten this, I can flip to the back and I can kind of see where I had done some things before. So what it does is this thing shrinks, like you increase from 1 stitch to 3 stitches, and then you reinforce it with a purl row, and then you come back and you go from 3 to 1. So this is constantly doing this exercise. The one next to it is constantly doing this exercise. And so I go back and look and I'm like, which one has all 3 together? So I'm like, oh, okay, this one had all 3 together. So this one needs to get multiplied out, okay? This one is already multiplied out. So I want to shrink it back up. So then I know, without even looking at my pattern, this particular row, I need to get this one to be the one that increases from 1 to 3, and this one is from 3 to 1. This is a knit 3 together, okay? So in order to get a knit 3 together, I'm going to move my stitches. It's in a stitch count of 4, so I'm going to ignore this first one because that's the first peg in this pattern, and then there's multiples of 4 within here, and then the end stitches are getting purled. So I'm going to move my 3rd peg over to my 4th peg. Okay, because we're going to knit all 3 together on the 4th peg. All right, then I'm going to move this 2nd peg over to my 3rd peg because I'm going to eventually want it over here, but it's going to be too tight. So I need to move now my 2nd peg over to this, I'm sorry, my 1st peg over my 2nd peg. And when I say 1, 2, 3, I'm not referring to this thing here. I'm referring to in that stitch pattern. Now I have enough room, and I can, there's enough slack, and I can move this peg over that's now on 3 over to 4. So now what was on the 2 and 3 peg is now stacked on my 4. You see that? So this one is going to get all 3 knit together, but this one has to multiply to here, a new stitch here, and a new stitch here. Now on the wrong side, I'm going to knit 1, purl 1, knit 1. Okay, But on the right side, I have to purl one, knit one, purl one. Okay, so we're going to do that right now. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to make a purl stitch going from the bottom, pull it up like from the ocean, pull it up, made a loop, put the loop on the peg, done. That one's done. Okay, now I have to do something a little harder. I've got to, it's not hard, it's just, you just got to do a little gymnastics here. So now it's harder because I'm doing this on camera, so you're going to see me struggle a little bit because I'm turning it. So I'm going to put my yarn above my peg here, and then I'm going to scoop it up and pull it downward because I'm doing the opposite. A knit stitch is opposite from the purl. This is the traditional or classic one where I make a loop and I take it off and on. Now, before I do anything with it, I'm going to ignore this. I'm making a little bunny ear, okay? Think about bunnies here. Now I want to, I can reach from the bottom side and get a purl stitch. So now I'm going to go through the side of this stitch here. See how this side here doesn't have any extra yarn? And I'm going to kind of flip my tool around and scoop this up. Again, this is not that hard. It's just, I'm trying to hold it for the camera's purposes. So now I have these little bunny loops, okay? And then I'm going to put my tail to the back, take this off, and then I'm going to put these loops on the peg, okay? Now I'm going to pull on this to make this tighter. This is what I started doing yesterday. And then I'm going to pull on this loop here and get that one all snug, and then pull my extra yarn here. Oops. And it doesn't usually pull off, but I wasn't doing it on camera yesterday either. And then now I'm ready to knit these three together. So I just put my yarn, hold it back here for a U-knit stitch to give me a little slack. And then I'm gonna knit these three over one. Okay, knit three together. And it's easier to do them all individually, but you can do them all at the same time. Now I go to the next one. Now, you can set up in advance. So that was just doing that one stitch pattern. We just covered 3 stitches, but it went from 2 to 4, okay? Or not 2 to 4, but from 1 to 3, and then this one went to 3 to 1. Anyway, whatever. We were working with 2 pegs. Ah, I said that funny. Okay, then I go to my next one. However, I'm going to set up the next 2 stitch patterns so that I can just do them all consecutively, right? So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, move the 3 to 4. And I'm going to go over here, move the 3 to 4. Okay. Now I'm going to move the 2 to 3. And while I'm on it, I'm going to move the 1 to 2. Go down again. 3, 2 to 3. And then the 2 over here. So, and I just kind of keep stacking them on top. So now I end up with every other one has something on it. There's going to every other one has something. This first one has 1. This next one after it skipped has 3, and so it repeats. And then this last one is going to be a purl stitch. So let me see, before I do anything else, I'm going to check the questions and see if we have any questions. Yeah, yay to Joanne. Everybody's giving her love. I'm so glad. How many pegs did I cast on? It's a, this is a 4+2 stitch pattern. So this is a multiple of 4 and then +2, which are on the ends. So this is 4, 8, 12, 14. No, yes, 14. So, so I've got 12 pegs that I'm working for the stitch pattern, and then I have 2 end pegs. If I was working in the round, these pegs would be omitted. You wouldn't need these pegs. You would just continue, okay? So then it would, the stitch pattern, so whenever you see, let's do a little bit of a deal here. So if I see needle, and it calls for 4 + 1 or 4 + 2. What that means is, let's say I want to work this in a flat panel, you know, working in a flat panel, and I need somewhere around 48 stitches, it's actually going to be, well, let's just 36. So if it's 36, I know. Anyway, it would be 36 plus the 1. So you want your number divisible by that number plus the 2. So like in here, what I've done is I've done 12 plus 1. Well, the one I'm on right now is 4 plus 2. So I did 12 plus 2. So it's 14 stitches cast on. If it's in the round, I don't need those extra pegs. And so it would just be, you know, let's say I did 48. I wouldn't need 50. 50 would not be needed. Does that make sense? So if I went all the way around, like let's say I decided to do a hat in this stitch pattern, and I did it on this, and if I did it on this one, I went like, if I did on this one, I would want like a bigger yarn, okay? And so, or I'd want a couple of strands of that yarn. By the way, this is Karen 1 pound, if you don't know it. I think it's just a little bit bigger than the Super Saver stuff. And I think it feels really nice. It doesn't have all that weird sizing feel. But anyway, this one you would work all the stitches. You wouldn't need those turning pegs. So just, that's a little tip. So anyway, and that goes for needle as well. Like whether it's needle or whether it's loom, if you're going to go in the round, you don't need this plus number. Whatever this number is, you don't need that for the round. Okay. How many passed on? 4 cast on for the pillow. I'm trying to remember. I don't have the pillow, I almost said recipe. I don't have the pillow pattern in front of me right now. But you can find that on my, my video with that, or the Yarn Inspirations website, and it'll tell you how many you cast on. Okay, so we're gonna get going. Let's see, this is way cool. She says, Joanne here, thanks for the love. I'm always happy to help my loomies. Yeah, it's like your roommate, your loomies. Okay, so then I've got that, and now I'm gonna go ahead and increase. Let's increase again. So I'm gonna purl. Put that over here. I'm going to, whoops. Oh, and here's the deal. If you forget, oh, sorry, I'm totally zoomed in. Okay, so if you purl, you pick it up from the bottom, put it on here, and then you just try to purl again, what it's going to do, it's going to take this out. So you can't, you have to do them, you have to switcheroo, okay? That's probably way too far away. I'm sorry. So then you lay your yarn over the top, and then you pull it down and make that loop, okay? And then you put the yarn down below and pull it up, make that bunny ear, do, 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 hop, 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 going over. Then we put them on. I'm going to pull it. And now I'm going to pull this one. Da, 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 da. I just did it. Knit these. I'll probably grab these two together. I don't like doing that though, because I feel like I'm going to split my yarn and stress the yarn. I don't want to stress the yarn. Don't stress out, babe. Do the next one. Purl. Place. Knit. Purl from the side. Pick it up, make a bunny hop. Pull it off. Put the loops on. Pull it. Get that extra slack. Pull it. Work that last stitch and that stitch pattern, and then we purl the last stitch in the line. Again, this is the flat panel working back and forth. Then the next row purls. So I just purled that stitch, and yes, I purl it again. So now we're back on the right side row, which is just purling. So that's all you do. And then the next row, you just alternate that. By the way, the Mary Maxim kit that's for giveaway that I did the needle pattern on, I have not converted over to the Loom. I'm sure someone can convert it or mess with it. But if you did want to get any kits from Mary Maxim, if you want to get that and try, otherwise just, you know, getting it to just get the yarn, there is a 10% off coupon on my blog right now, and you can enter the giveaway. When it ships to you. We're picking 2 winners, one is states, one international, and then the winner, it closes tomorrow night for me, right before midnight, and you're going to want to get in on that if you want it, and then we're going to announce the winner later on this week. Okay, stick around for a minute, and I'm going to show you after that. I'm going to show you how to do this row, and then I'm going to talk just for a second and tell you what's coming up this week. So we're going to work on doing the opposite. So now if you study the back of your work here, okay. Oh, thanks for that pillow thing. Pillow cast on was 82 stitches. Thank you. So basically it's divisible. The 80 is divisible by 4, and then it's got the 2 added. Okay, so this one went from 3 to 1, and you can tell because it doesn't have them all stacked together. This one back here, when you pull your work back, you can see that this was all stacked up and 3 went together. So now what we want to do is make this one bigger and this one squished together, right? That's a technical term, squished together, ladies and gentlemen. So now we're just going to go the other way, stack it, move these over. I'll just show you when I set up the row. Oh, and be loose on the purl side. I guess that was a little tight there. Come on now. Apparently I was tight. Shouldn't have been, but I was. I do that when I'm on camera. I get really tight. I don't appear nervous, but it appears in my knitting apparently. So, oh, and then I gotta move this over. That would make it easier. Okay, so that's me setting up a row, and then I would just continue as before. Okay, so that's that. Let me flip over and talk to you guys. Oh, well, I can just show you. Okay, so this week coming up, tomorrow I might talk a little bit about this. Stop. I'm all caught. Okay, these two. This is what I'm working on this week. I'll be doing the knit. I'll be doing the stitch for this in the blog for Yarn Inspirations this week. And that will go up with them. So we'll be waiting on them to release that. And then, there will be having the Mary Maxim, giveaway ending here for this. Let me zoom out here. This kit here for the painted tiles wrap. Okay, and it comes with 5 balls of this yarn, and then this is the Milan yarn, or Milan yarn, and I did it in the Sicily color, and then Umbria is this one, but they have like 5 colors. So ends tomorrow night at midnight. The cutoff for this stuff. So there, I think there's like around 50 people who've entered, so you have, your chances are high. So get your entry in if you want to get that. And plus, any purchase you make, there's a one-time use coupon code for 10% off your whole purchase. So there's that. And then and that's this right here. I worked on this. There's just a video on how to do this on my channel. So this is a cool mitered square on needle. And so if you want a hand holding on a mitered square, I do that with you. What else this week? And then, you know, coming up on Thursday, we're going to do a crochet stitch. Yay! I've got it from here. I learned it. I'm going to teach it to you. This is called the loop-de-loop. And so we're going to work on this for crochet, and I worked on it with the Bernat Softy Chunky. I think it would be fun to do this in like a neat cool scarf. So you could do, but you can make this, like if you want it a smaller, you can use a smaller yarn like this Karen or whatever, and you're going to want to use smaller, but you're going to have a bigger cast on. So I'm going to just show you in the larger stitches. So if you're interested in learning that this week, I've got that. It's a pretty simple pattern to learn. And anyway, how do you, see, do you sign up for the giveaway? How? Here, let me flip over the camera. Ta-da! Okay, so if you want to be involved, oh, here's my cup. If you want to go to the giveaway, go to goodknitKisses.com, click on the blog, go to the Mary Maxim giveaway. Well, it doesn't say giveaway. It says painted tiles wrap, I believe. And you can do the giveaway there. I talk about the tiles wrap. Then there's a video knit along. Right under the video, it may look like a little ad to you. I think it's like gray and white. It's a little box, and you click on that for the giveaway. And there's like 4 different ways to get entries in, so you can get more than one. And it has to do with just subscribing in different places and whatnot. And then we'll verify. We need a couple days to verify. So what else? And then we'll do the giveaway on Friday, I think. Yeah. So anyway, Alicia, will there be a written pattern for the pillow on Loom knitting? No, unless okay, so Yarn Inspirations has not said that they will write patterns, but I'm telling you how to convert them. For now, that's going to have to be good enough because I can't rewrite their patterns, but I'm allowed to tell you how to convert them. So you'll have to just come back to my video, and then you could, but I would encourage you to get their pattern, get the needle pattern and print it, okay, and put it in a sleeve, whatever. But before you put it in the sleeve, write down what I say in the video, like just edit the row, just put a line through it, like a pencil line, or write out to the side and say, Loom, row 2, do this, row 4, do this. And then that way, you know what the difference is. And if you ever go back to needles, or you want to see why did she convert it this way and how did she do it, that would be better for you for the future on converting your own patterns and knowing what did we do in this circumstance. So that, I think that would actually be really good for you instead of just simply having a Loom pattern. Yeah. So, and then that's up to them if they want to do that. So, Alicia, Ellie says, Alicia, I take notes when Kristen's doing the conversions. What else? Eileen, is it just for US or can Canada also go for it? Absolutely, Eileen. Yes, you can go for this. Mary Maxim is a Canadian company too. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm doing, the reason why I said I'm doing it for the States and for international, which includes Canada, is because I usually do my giveaways for international, and I didn't want to say only one for Canada and one for the States, and that wouldn't be fair. So because they're giving me 2, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just keep my normal. So I hope that's good, and you guys enjoyed it. I hope to see you tomorrow if you decide to join me again. If not, if you want to join me for crochet, if you do crochet, if you do crochet, we're gonna do this little stitch Thursday. And then we'll be back Monday. So I hope you have a great day. Happy knitting and crochet. Bye, everyone. Give me hearts. Send me hearts. Ah.